Well, so one of the most shocking things you said to me when we talked last was that you had a CIA document from 1950. I think it was declassified in 2011. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So she sends me this document because I wanted to see it. The first two sentences smack me across the face, and it sounded like your story. So it says endoparasites and malignant tumors resemble each other in many respects. So parasites and tumors look like each other. This suggested a long time ago in regard to the parasitic nature of tumors. And so this is in 1950, and they're saying a long time ago we knew that parasites and tumors look like each other. The only other date listed in that document, or earlier date anyway, was from 1938. So that's 86 years ago that they knew. Welcome to the Deconstructing Conventional podcast. This interview is brought to you by Healing United, a private membership association committed to helping you reclaim sovereignty over your health, life, and future. You could say our tagline is question everything and rebuild intentionally. In the audio format of the show, there's additional commentary before each episode, and there are also over a dozen audio-only episodes. You can find the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, including the Healing United PMA app. Look for it in the App Store, and if you want to learn more about the work we do, and especially how we help people heal when the doctors have no answers, visit us online at healingunited.today. Now, on with the show. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to today's show. My guest is Kim Rogers. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She is an 18-year veteran of the medical community. She worked in endocrinology and neurology, also in ER and urgent care. And during her time in the medical world, she was a teacher at 25 different healthcare colleges. Now she is the face, and I'd say tour de force, behind the company Rogers Hood Apothecary, which is a company that educates people about the overlooked problem of parasites, and a company that produces effective and affordable products for cleansing the body of parasites and other microbes. And her company has 2 FDA-approved facilities in 2 different states, and they have over 13,000 square feet where they produce their detox kits to help people rebalance their bodies and build lasting health. They have sold over 120,000 detox kits, and 40% of their daily sales are from repeat customers. So she must obviously be doing something right. So Kim, I cannot wait for people to hear the story of how you came out of the medical world into running your own business. So welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Right on. Okay, so the first time we talked, I wish I had hit record because you have so many amazing stories to tell. So today I'm not making that mistake. So tell the listener, how in the world did you go from a successful career in the medical world to realizing every little girl's dream of becoming known as the worm queen?
I mean, at least I'm not the worm lady. Like I got
right.
a crown out of the deal, right?
Right, something. Yeah, so what's the story? How did this whole thing? I know some of it, but give us the story.
Well, I worked in Western medicine since 2004, and I did all the things I thought was right for my body. I had stage 4 endometriosis, I had a hysterectomy and 13 surgeries, and I was really kind of just going through it with my own health. And my husband and I, in about 2019, decided that it just wasn't enough and I wasn't doing very well and I was starting to circle the drain. And so we got our affairs in order, and we happened to have a recreational piece of property out in Hoodsport, and we decided to build a log home ourselves, like crazy people.
Wow,
just the
that's a
2
big
of
change.
us. A big change. But at least if something happened to me, my husband wouldn't be left with a mortgage and a lot of debt, because as we all know, being chronically ill is very expensive.
Right.
And so I had racked up some bills, and I just really wanted him to be okay because I really was not doing well. So we started to just look at alternative type of measurements for myself. I looked at mushrooms, which I did a lot of mushrooms. I still take mushrooms to this day. And then I started kind of digging in deeper once the mushrooms kind of helped me get a little bit better, more normalized. It just wasn't enough. And I'm like, what is really wrong with me? I can't lose weight. My skin looks terrible. I was so bloated. I wasn't going poop, which is really a huge, scary issue when you're not going to the bathroom. And it had been like 30 days. And so I reached out to my doctors, and they were just like, there's really nothing left for us to do. Have you tried psyllium husk? And I'm like, okay.
Right. What comprehensive advice. Keep going.
I'm like, all righty, psyllium husk, then okay. So I kind of started to look at other options, and I came across a TikTok where a girl had said that she almost unalived herself over worms. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Hmm.
Like a few years before, I thought I had parasites. Whenever I looked at my surgeries, it looks kind of crazy inside my abdomen area.
Wait,
What do
okay,
you
back up for
think?
that. Hang on. You
Yeah,
had the ability to look at and watch your own surgeries, which is a whole different animal than most people. So tell
multiple
people that
times.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. Pictures, videos, like I was friends with most of my doctors because I usually put employees that were my students in their facilities so that when I would go in for treatment, I had really good help. I
Nice.
was cared for. But I always looked at things and thought, gosh, this just doesn't add up to me. Like this isn't adding up for me. And so I started to look into other options. Now, like I said, about 5 years before, I thought I had pinworms almost to a point where they were going to do a biopsy in an area because I had a weird white spot that looked like, and so they wanted to biopsy it. And I said, well, gosh, I do get kind of itchy and I've seen some other white things. And she's like, yeah, we live in the United States. We don't have worms, Kim. And I was like, well, I mean, what's the chances it could be that? Let's give it a few days. I'll come back. I'll get the biopsy. I came back, nothing was there.
Hmm.
And so I had research because I'm like 46 years old and everything we do now, we screenshot it and we've been doing that for decades, right? And so
Yeah.
I looked back and I had screenshotted colonics for worms. Like,
Really?
so subconsciously, I think I knew.
Wow. And you saw, if I'm not mistaken, if you, from last time we talked, you saw something moving around on one of the videos of your surgery that caught your attention. Is that right?
Yeah, I saw some things in my abdomen area that had moved, and I asked them about it and they were like, "Oh, I mean, that's just scar tissue." And I'm like, "Okay." It
Wow.
looked weird to me, but okay, whatever. So, I just kind of started putting two and two together and sat down, and I'm really fortunate because I do have two healthcare degrees and I was valedictorian, so I like to dig, I like to look, I like to research. It's kind of my jam. And so I just started to kind of research more, and I did a parasite cleanse that was viral at the time. I actually made it go more viral because 10.5 million people viewed one of my videos. A
Wow.
million the first 2 hours. It shut my phone off because there was so much activity going on. My
Wow.
phone couldn't keep up. So it completely shut my phone down in July of 2021. After I had done my parasite cleanse, I saw liver flukes, pinworms, and roundworm in the toilet. And after 3 days, I knew what was wrong with me. Like in that moment, I have goosebumps. In that moment, I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Like,
Right.
wait, this is it? Like, really? There's all of these problems that I was having, and this is it? Wow. So, I mean, this light bulb went off. My husband and I were literally having our whole family show up the day I went viral over worms to help start the build. And I just looked at my husband. I was like, like, I'm gonna have to keep on this, right?
Right.
Like, I'm gonna have to bail now because I'm really lucky. This is something that I can talk about too. Like, I went viral over medical, and I love medical. I love the human body and I love teaching. So I'm like, I mean, I'm going to do this, babe. And I've just been making videos every day since.
Yeah. For how long? You've been making videos for how many years now?
Since 2021, July of 21. Well, I had a TikTok account since 2019, and it was to teach people about mushrooms and building a log home and just
Hmm.
building, homesteading. I was in the homestead TikTok. And so I had a little following, like 10,000 followers. I have like 570,000 on TikTok now and like 280 on Insta. So we have we have over a million across all of our platforms
Yeah, but you've been doing it every single day. That's the remarkable part.
every day
Yeah.
because this needs to be talked about. Like, and it's not just about parasites. This is about finding the root cause
Right.
before you go and do life altering surgeries like I did. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a hysterectomy when I was 29. Like, I have no kids. You can't come back from that,
Right.
So if you can do something that can help your body and just give you a little bit of a fighting chance, our bodies are so overloaded with toxins that it's not something that's talked about. And I truly believe that we don't have an autoimmune disease problem. We have an environmental toxin issue that's
Hmm.
causing these autoimmune diseases. And the amount that we all have is just out of control at this point, when really I was exposed to mold and living in mold while building. So it's like all of these things that I'm clearing out and all of these modalities I'm doing and I'm showing people as I'm doing them are helpful to kind of get your body and your life back. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
ultimately, that's what this is about.
Right. Well, and two other things you mentioned first time we talked was some of the other factors of your health journey. So you had been on Klonopin for a long
Right?
time, like 22 years, I think it
22
was.
years. Yeah,
Which
I
tell
was
for
on.
people who don't know what that is, tell them what that is and what it does.
It's a benzodiazepine, and I had severe PTSD, which I just wasn't really dealing with because
Hmm.
my health issues were so bad. And a lot of my PTSD was because of my health issues. I had somewhat of a botched hysterectomy. So it was really a lot of issues, medical neglect. So it was like I would take something to push down that trauma and the feelings that I was having because my health was so poor. And I had my family life is really great now, but I didn't really get along. I'm the black sheep, so there was a lot of trauma there. And,
Yeah.
instead of me going and hitting it head on, I was like, I'm just going to take this pill to help my nervous system and I'll get back to it. Right. And after so many decades of being on it and then trying to get myself off of it, it really was quite traumatic when I was getting off of it. I had a mini stroke. I couldn't remember how to like hold forks and
Sheesh.
shower and walk and yeah. So I also was living in mold at the time. So it was like this ball of health issues were just declining for us. So
Wow. Well, and last year, the first time we talked about what it's like coming out of the medical system because you were so involved in that. And then to recognize they not only have no tools to help me, but they're also dismissing what
yeah.
ended up being the problem. So talk about that kind of, I don't know, if awakening or reckoning, or how would you describe the coming out of that and realizing you had to choose a different path?
It was tough because it's all I've known for 20 years. Now, I've always been very herb oriented. I've always thought that, natural medicine, I mean, as natural as you can get when you're, smoking and stuff, right? Like it helped me calm my nervous system at
Yeah.
times. I feel like it was kind of a grieving moment for me too, because it's all I've ever known. And I felt really let down, especially when I figured out that I had Cryptosporidium parvium, which is a parasite from the water at my
Mm.
log home. And it's the water up there is contaminated. We had it tested. Also, Seattle's water is contaminated. We've had it tested. So that really is kind of a letdown too. And the fact that like when I reached out to my colleagues in Western medicine, multiple colleagues in multiple states, because I've lived in multiple states in my life, they all just dismissed me. And I'm like, wait a minute, like this is really something that can easily be fixed. And I dedicated 20 years of my life teaching people. Did I teach them wrong too? So there was this
Mm.
grieving part for me
Yeah.
when I had this medical awakening, because it really is a medical awakening. It's not just my body's awakened. It's I had to go through the process of understanding that everything I thought I knew, even my husband, everything he thought he knew about engineering and water, when
Mm.
he realized that they don't test for nematodes, he was shooketh. So it was like two shooketh people just got together and we're like, oh my gosh, what is happening here? Like, how is this possible?
Yeah, but at the same time, you're getting off the medication that kept you from being able to regulate
Yeah.
your own emotion and feel things. And so you worked your way off that. And if I remember correctly from last time we talked, the kind of the linchpin or the last straw for you was when not only had the people dismissed it, but the insurance companies just basically refused to help you. So tell people that story.
So we were on Cobra because my husband left his job and became my caretaker because I was that sick
Hmm.
and I couldn't do anything for myself. So we got on Cobra. And once Cobra was over, we got put on state Medicare, no, Medicaid. And my doctors refuse to even talk with me. Apparently, it's illegal for them to talk with their patient once they're on state aid if they don't take the state aid. Well, I'm in
Ah,
the middle of getting off of Klonopin. Like I was 3 months in, they just bailed on me, and I'm sitting there emailing them. I'm like, I understand the laws, but like I'm a human being here, and I'm really struggling knowing exactly what dose I should go on next because now we know we're living in mold, being pelted with parasites, and so we weren't really capable of thinking for ourselves in those moments, and we were doing our best. That's how I found out about Amanita, which is why, everything I have is Amanita, which is the red mushroom, is because I learned how to break Amanita down to make benzodiazepine all natural, which is what the DNA structure of Amanita is benzodiazepine. So I found a natural way of supplementing the Klonopin with Amanita, but like that was only after they just like bailed on me and they were like, you're on your own. I'm like, wait a minute, how am I on my own here? I
yeah.
get it. Like you're not going to get paid. I'm like, we had money set aside specifically to pay cash. And they
Hmm.
were like, oh, can't because you're on state aid. Our hands are tied. I'm like, how are your hands tied? I'm a human being begging you for help right now.
Man. Yeah, and that's just my listeners are not unfamiliar with the shortcomings, I guess you could say, of the medical system and how it's not hard to argue at times. It's really not looking out for you. It's only looking out for making you a customer for life and on and on. And that's rough. So thank you for sharing that story. We've got more to
Yeah.
come. But one of the things I love to do on this show is just define terms so people we're tracking with us as we go through whatever we talk about. So you distinguish between parasites and worms. So define the two and tell us what the difference is.
Well, parasites are anything that feeds off a host.
Okay.
So it could be scabies, lice, crypto, which is a microscopic parasite, which is what I have, which is parvo, which kills puppies. Woo. And
Mm.
then defragiles, which is what my husband had, and giardia. A lot of people are familiar with the word giardia, and it's because of boiling your water and making sure that if any pipes break, that, they say boil your water. And it's specifically because they don't want you to catch giardia. But really, that's a parasite. A worm is physical, like roundworm, tapeworm, flatworm, whipworm, hookworm. Those are pretty normal. Pinworms, those are physical nematodes, but they're all in the parasite family because they all live off of a host.
Okay, great. And so there's some that are just microscopic, right? That you need a microscope to see, and there's others that are multiple feet long. So
Right.
how many, well, there's like 14 or so different classifications of parasites, is that
There's
right?
thousands.
Thousand. Okay. So I underestimated by a factor of many. Okay.
There's like thousands that can live in our body, and they all have different names, and they haven't really been able to do because this just isn't something that's researched.
Right. Man. Okay. So when most people think of parasites, they think of things that just live in the colon. But as you know, they're
Right.
all throughout the body. So anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, they're in our cells, they're in our blood, they're in our tissue, they're in our muscle, and that's why it's so easy to catch them because we eat animals and animals have them, a lot. They are on the ground walking, and so it's not abnormal. I mean, this is very normal for us as
Hmm.
humans, and other countries recognize it.
Yeah.
Western medicine countries just don't. So Mexico requires their people to do like 2 times a year. Some schools you can't get in unless you parasite cleanse with their synthetic medications that you can get at the pharmacy for like $7.
Hmm.
Jamaica does a tea called the Bush monthly. So this is a normal standard practice in other countries, just not in Western medicine countries.
Yeah. Well, I remember I had a naturopath that worked at one of our facilities, and I told her about a parasite story I had, and she's from Nigeria. And
Hmm.
I told her about it, and she just laughed. She said, "You Americans are so funny. You guys think you don't have parasites." She's like,
Yeah.
"We all of you do. Like it's just normal to have this."
It's
So
normal. This
yeah,
normal. You go outside and you ground, and if you ground, which I fully believe in grounding, but you should ground in a specific area that you've cleaned the dirt and make sure that no other animals have defecated there because they hold roundworm and hookworm, and it's normal. This is normal. Fish all have parasites from what I understand because I live here in Seattle and I go down to the pike market and I've talked with them, and they're like looking at me like I'm nuts because I'm also what fish would you say have it? And they're like, all fish, yo, all of them. And
Mhm.
closer to the belly of the cut has more parasites.
Mm.
So this is normal. It's just not normal for us because
Yeah.
we've been indoctrinated to think that the first world country that we live in could never have this. But in fact, I live in a first world country and I got the worst of it from my water.
Yeah.
Showering in my water, brushing my teeth with my water. I wear a retainer, so I was soaking my retainer in the water. I was washing my produce in the water, but I wasn't drinking the parasite water. I was drinking my normal reverse osmosis, but just the little exposure that we had was making me even more and more ill. And you're already ill going into the scenario. And now I'm getting sicker and sicker because I'm being pelted with it by my shower.
Man. Okay, so two more terms I want to define here are
Yeah.
mucoid plaque and biofilm. So for people who don't know what those are, tell them what those are.
Okay, so, and I'm going to tell you what we have as a product that the reason why I know about all of this. So we have a product called Gutty, and it's a 3-day colon cleanse slash mucoid plaque. And mucoid plaque is basically like, you know how you get plaque in your arteries in your heart? You get that in your colon as well because it's also like an artery. It's a smooth muscle and it collects yucky, it collects grease and grime, and then they love living in that, so they're all kind of hanging out inside of this grease grime pit that you have going on in your colon. So if you can go in with things like chia seeds and psyllium husk and then a negatively charged herb like charcoal and clay, which is what we use in Gutty, it'll actually pull and then kind of go in like a brush
Hmm.
and clean it out and pull it out, and it's all black and yucky and gross, but I mean you feel better, and especially if you're not going to the bathroom, it really kind of goes in and helps clean it out like a pressure washer. And then the other thing was what I got stuck
Biofilm.
on. Oh, biofilm.
Yeah.
Okay, so biofilm is what they live in, and they can get like basically it's a one-way film, so they can burrow into your muscle and your tissue and also surround themselves with biofilm so that it's hard for them to be exposed and killed and pulled out. And so we use a herb called lungwort lichen. It's foraged. It's in Meadow Flush, which is in the Parafy kit. And it goes in and it breaks the biofilm like a glass, like shattering it. And then they're exposed, and then the herbs can go in and like clean them out and like make them so that they're stealthy, like they
Yeah.
can be hidden because of biofilm. With something like lime burrows in like a spirochete into your muscle, and then the biofilm covers it
Mm.
like a band-aid so that it's hard. But the crazy thing about biofilm is things can go through it one way only, which is your nutrients
Hmm.
feeding it, but it can't come like out. So you have to break it. And that's what probably the biggest game changer for me when I was doing these cleanses, especially because I was doing them all on camera and people were sending me stuff, because let me tell you, it is expensive to parasite cleanse. And I didn't have the funds to do that when I was first on this journey. It was like $250 with all of the things that I put into this kit. That's
Hmm.
about what it would cost for someone to really cleanse a pretty decent cleanse, excluding Cellcore. Cellcore is even more than that. And so I didn't realize how important it was to have something that broke the biofilm, because you're getting them, but you're not getting them really good. You're not like exposing them. They're stealthy, like I said, and they don't want to go away.
Yeah. No, they do not appreciate the eviction notice and definitely
No, they're
protest.
living rent free. Yeah.
Yeah. Rent free. I like that. Yeah. Well, it's what I like about what hearing you describe that is that it took someone like you with a research brain to say there's a system, there's an order at which we go after this. You can't just throw a bunch of herbs at it that in a petri dish. Maybe the parasite doesn't like or is poisoned by such and such herb, but there's a whole ecosystem behind
Yeah.
that. And it takes a systematic level of working to wipe that out so that your body can rebalance it and get those guys to the exit. So wonderful. And thank you for suffering for the rest of us so that somebody can figure this out.
I mean, I really am grateful that I've had the opportunity to really like utilize everything that I was doing and learning. And it wasn't just This is one of my favorite things about my kit. I'm going to talk about it real quick.
Go for it.
Okay, so Parafy isn't just you could use those herbs, but what I've figured out is that herbs have a frequency and your ailments have a frequency as well. And so if you can find what the frequency is of the ailment, you can partner it with an herb. So the examples I always give is when you're at an opera and the opera singer gets her voice to the same level to break glass, is because her voice became the same frequency as the glass. So that vibration broke the glass. When you figure out what herb is the same frequency as that ailment, you can shatter it.
Yeah.
And that's why I have so many different types of herbs that you may never have heard of inside of the Parafy kit, like usnea. Usnea helps with bad bacteria. It's Mother Nature's doxycycline. So people that have Lyme do really well on my kit, specifically because of that tincture sustain. I take it every day. It's literally right here behind me. I take it when I'm not feeling well. And it's because it's going in and it's helping the frequency that's being disrupted in my body to level it out. And then the Lyme doesn't like that. So it like, okay, I'm leaving. You've made your body inhospitable and I don't want to be a part of it anymore. So it leaves. And so when you find out what ailment you have, it's okay because then you can match it with an herb.
Well, that's such a different paradigm. I don't hear anybody in the medical world talking about frequency, or very few people. They have the difficulty thinking outside the periodic table, and it's just the elements and biochemical whack-a-mole or moves and counter moves, but they don't to think in terms of frequency and chemistry or light and heat and motion and the other aspects of physics. I just love the way your brain works. You didn't come at it from it has to be a chemical solution to this. How do I poison it? It was, wait a minute, all of life has resonance to it. What does that have to teach me, or what might I learn about that? So well done, investigator.
Thanks. I love frequencies. When I had my mini stroke, it's really what got me through rewiring my subconscious and rewiring my brain so that I consciously could make different efforts than just putting a Band-Aid on it with a pill. Because what I was doing wasn't working. What they were telling me to do wasn't working. My blood work was normal, but I'm suffering, and it's like something is amiss here. So what am I missing? Because this is it, right? This is your body.
Yeah, you only get one.
All you get.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard that my blood work came back normal and the person doesn't feel normal in any way. There's so many things wrong. And I've just started teaching them, like, if your blood work's normal, that's great. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But if the problem's finally showing up in your blood, it was a problem a long time ago. And the medical system doesn't look for, what they can't test the interstitial fluid, and they're not testing what's going on inside the cell. And that's where if you have dirty water or the inside of your cells are dirty, that's where your problem is. And you won't find that on a blood test. So can we go after the toxicity problem, in your case, the parasitic problem that's creating all this dirty water? So well done. Okay. Well, let me ask you this, because most of the medical world, or healthcare world for that matter, just doesn't really pay any attention to parasites, as we've talked about. So for the listener, give them some symptoms that they might be experiencing that could be indicative of a parasite infection that they might not have thought to correlate to that.
Grinding the teeth is always my go-to.
Okay, well, that one is the one that I've highlighted, is like, what is it about grinding teeth? Because an itchy anus or other things, but why grinding teeth in particular?
Because it's your nervous system and it's your body, like the biggest indication that something's going on. We all have some form of a TMJ at some point, but really it's not. It's you're grinding your teeth because your lymphatic system is so gunked up and your nervous system is telling you something's wrong. And so at nighttime, because they're nocturnal creatures, so your insomnia all night long, eating after 7 p.m., and staying up all night. And then when you do sleep, you're grinding your teeth. It's because it's your nervous system is just shot, because it's constantly in fight or flight. When you have something in your body that is not regulating you at a homeostasis level, it's going into like the shock. It doesn't know what else to do. And so that's a huge indication that you have parasites.
That's funny. That's the first thing you go to.
Yeah, it always is, because I actually had braces. I mean, I had really great teeth before I got braces, but I had TMJ and I didn't want my jaw broken. And I had TMJ because I grinded my teeth. And so I got braces because they can, after, like 16, like, I don't know, 16 months or something, at least my jaw would be
Where it should be.
aligned and my
Yeah.
teeth would look nice if I still grinded my teeth at night, whatever. But
Okay.
at least I had great teeth,
Wow.
So it's
Okay.
like I got something out of the deal, but I don't grind my teeth anymore. I did correct it,
Wow.
but it's like just the thought of, okay, well, we can do a few things, but like, what's the root cause?
Hmm.
What's the root of the problem? That's
Yeah.
really what I keep going back to in life.
Wow. Okay. What are some other symptoms people might have that they might not think could be related or a sign of a parasite infection?
Well, IBS, so gut issues is a big one. Anemia is a huge one because of hookworm, because it absorbs iron. So a lot of people that have anemia should go get tested, or at least do a parasite cleanse. And if you start to feel better and your iron increases, you know what your root cause was in that issue. Um, I would also say skin issues. A lot of things like psoriasis and eczema can be candida, and candida is also a parasite because it lives off the host and controls your mind, making you want more and more sugar.
Hmm.
Mental health issues. So a lot of people that have mental health issues can have parasites, toxoplasmosis, which is the cat parasite, which is also a parasite that I talk a lot about because it's a mind controlling parasite. Um, a lot of anxiety is a really big factor because your body's never getting out of fight or flight.
Yeah. So that list you just came up with, and we could add other things to it, but essentially, there's so many symptoms that you could just spend a lifetime trying to play whack-a-mole with and never get to why you have that and just
Right,
be endlessly chasing your tail.
right,
So you had a couple examples, I think, in one of your posts or somewhere on your site about just how the medical world, or maybe it was our conversation where you said they're not actually going after any symptoms. They're just creating labels, not going after root causes. And two you mentioned were limes and pandas. So tell people what pandas is, or say anything you want about Lyme.
well, I have both.
Oh
I
boy.
have pandas and I have Lyme. Pandas actually is somewhat of my root cause, and then these are all co-infections.
Hmm.
So I had strep in my brain, and I think it was like 3 weeks ago that I realized a lot of things by sitting down. Now, we'll go back to your question, but if I had not gotten rid of the parasites and
Hmm.
realized I had been living in mold, I would never have gotten to my all of the co-infections and all of the root
Hmm.
causes, been able to at least get myself to a normal, stable life again.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what this is all about, right? Being my own
Yeah.
patient advocate, finding out what's wrong with me, and then sharing it with the world. So,
Yeah. Well, that's what kind of what you had to do.
yeah, totally. I mean, at what point do you just want to give up? I did not want to give up. I'm 46 years old and I have a really long life ahead of me. And I was going into a chapter of my life where I was building my own log home that I designed myself. And it was like I didn't want to miss that. So I was willing to fight for whatever it took to continue down that dream, which we're done. And our house is beautiful. And I'm really thankful. And we did it ourselves. And, I mean, you look around I live in an apartment because we had to finish that home.
Yeah.
But when you look around, you're like, I like did every single thing in this house. I
Yeah.
picked everything out. I put every nail in with my husband most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I wanted people to hear that because it's so easy to just feel like you've been wrung out by the medical
Mhm.
world or the alternative world, and they have nothing to offer you. And it can leave people with the feeling of something wrong with me and I'm the
Right.
problem. And you had another gear of learning how to research, preempting this problem or preempting it coming to a head that spared you going down that hopeless route. And there's a grit that you had. So I guess as much as anything, I want the listener to muster some of that as well, and maybe take a look at something that's been dismissed or overlooked for a long time.
Because
So,
it's
oh,
easy to dismiss, right? It's
it,
especially because I think we've believed so heavily in Western medicine and then indoctrination that has done with not just the doctors, but it's a practice. That's why it's
mhm,
called medical practicing. And I think the part that everyone is somewhat frustrated with, including myself, is that they're just not willing to dig a little deeper. And I think that a lot of doctors that go dig deeper get kicked out and their
yeah,
colleagues are really awful. And that's what happened to me. My colleagues, I don't speak with them anymore. So it's
mm,
like, well, that's fine. I have a way better community where I'm getting more information to help my body to turn around and help others. And I feel like that's the biggest thing for me is one, I never want anyone to do this alone. I never want anyone to feel or be alone, because you're not.
Yeah.
I felt isolated and alone. I'm out in the woods, literally alone, trying to figure this out. And I
Mhm.
didn't have the people that I'd been with for 20 years helping me.
Yeah.
And so it was like I vowed that if I ever got a platform, which I have now, that I would make sure that people had one options to just try a cleanse, try these herbs. We're third party tested. We're all natural. We're ethically sourced. We
And
make it ourselves,
affordable.
affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, who has money to go and do cleanse after cleanse after cleanse? Even when I was tested positive and I showed the positive labs that we had, the insurance company, it was crazy expensive for an anti-parasitic pill. It was like
Mm.
$999 for
What?
6 pills. Yeah. Who
Oh,
has that kind of money to just fork over for 3 days
oh my
when,
gosh.
like, I could have gone to Mexico on a vacation and just gone to their pharmacy for like
Right.
$7, which is what we ended up doing the next year. We have like a year supply of anti-parasitics at our house because we moved here. And this is how I know that you can get even sicker when you're pelted with bad water. So we moved to Seattle in December of last year. So we've been here a year. We didn't have filters on our water. And I started feeling like I was going into remission.
Hmm.
Now, we had filters on our sink, but we didn't have filters on our shower because we hadn't gotten them in yet. And I took 3 showers here. And then we went out of town. And I started feeling like I was going into remission. Well, I was, because I
Yeah.
was being pelted with nematodes because we tested the water. We showered like we didn't have a choice, you know?
Yeah. You got to not, you can't skip bathing, but right.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Well, you've mentioned some of them, but this is just for the listener, we kind of put them all in one stretch here. The different places you can acquire parasites. So you talk about being outside barefoot and being on grass or whatever earth might have animals pooping on it. What about a lot of HOAs have taken to using reclaimed water for the sprinklers? Are they just keeping this problem going? Basically, it's reclaimed sewer water that they're using to spray on the lawns for the sprinklers. I'm assuming that's like a forehead facepalm moment of seriously, that's what we're doing. Would you be concerned about that or want to have that tested?
I mean, I honestly wouldn't be as concerned about that as them just using well water,
Really?
because
Okay.
with reclaimed water, they're filtering it just like on a cruise ship.
Hmm.
They're taking the water from the ocean and they're filtering it, which means they're filtering it through a 5 micron or smaller filter, which is
Okay.
removing everything. So
Okay.
it's almost like it's better for them. I'm not advertising this part at all in life. Trust me.
Uh-huh.
You shouldn't be using reclaimed water. There is enough water out there that we shouldn't be using it, but they probably are filtering it better than most of the water that I've tested with the lab that I work with, as well as I've traveled around the country and I have filters that are clear, and I do a lot of videos showing what your water looks like because of the
Mm.
pipes. And once they're just like our guts and just like our bodies, once they get into that pipe, you can never get them out. Man,
Huh.
it is like it's like mucoid plaque all up inside the pipes. You know,
Interesting.
they're living in there, they're doing their job, they're breaking down issues, they're
Yeah.
breaking things down. That's what worms and parasites are meant for.
Hmm.
However, we're also meant to know this information.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay.
I would say, like for us in Hoodsport, they have a community well that they think is just the best ever. And when we brought this to their attention, as well as the state of Washington, they came out and they tested it and it came back negative on their spectrum.
Hmm.
But in my lab, we've tested it many times still, even after they tested it and it came back negative with them. We tested it again and it came back positive with them, with
Hmm.
my lab. So it's like, okay, explain that. Like, is it because mine got sent to Mexico and there's specific parasitologist and yours is a zoologist who really is like, oh, I'm going to defend the water to my death? Like, I don't
Maybe.
know.
Yeah.
Like what would
Right.
happen? They came back and they were like, listen, 5,000 of you have all been and you can see when you go into my town where my log home is, you can tell they have worms. Like it's 100%. You walk up and you're like, yo, you're
What?
old
Okay.
and you have worms. Like I can see it.
What is it that you observe in someone where you go, "Ooh, worms"? How do you visually find that?
Well, I've diagnosed a few people, not medical advice, but I have. I've been like, have you ever been tested for like a worm? And I was on a cruise and her name is Olympia. We're really good friends now because she was like our bartender and I was sitting there and I looked at her and I was like, oh, just don't look, you're on vacation. And she and I started talking and she goes, actually, and she handed me her labs and I said, oh, so you have a tapeworm. And she goes, oh my God, yes. How did you know? Like circles under the eyes, hair loss. And you
Really?
said that your dog had a parasite and you were cuddling with your dog and you guys now have the same like hair loss in the same area. I'm like, pets. If
Yeah.
you don't deworm your dogs and your cats and you don't deworm your pets, you have parasites. Like
Yeah.
hands down, I will die on that cross. You have parasites. I got parasites from my dogs who had parasites, and there was a few times we forgot to deworm them that month. And like, it happens. It
Yeah.
happens. They drink out of puddles, which are full of parasites because this is normal.
Yeah, that's what animals do. So, okay, well, I was going to tell you to break it gently to people if they have cats or dogs.
Sorry.
So, for those of you cat and dog lovers
We
listening,
are.
yeah, sorry, not sorry. At least you know
There's
about
no
this now.
gentle way of doing this.
Right. Gentle is,
Rip the band-aid off.
yeah, but at least you might have a new set of lenses to look for causal factors here. So,
Yeah, like it's all fixable. I mean, that's kind of what is so great about my platform and
mhm,
why I push so hard is because there really is an answer at the end of the conversation, at the end of this spectrum that we're talking about. And that's kind of like the same with mold. People have
mhm.
mold poisoning. I lived in a moldy trailer while building my dream home and running a Rogers Hood business about parasites. I got off my parasite cleanse for about 7 days and my eyes started to swell shut and I didn't know what was going on with
Geesh.
me. It was really scary. I lost half my hair. My brain fog was intense. And then I realized it was about 4 months in, and all of this is documented. That's the crazy thing is
Yeah.
the videos will pop up from 2022 and I'll look at them like, oh yeah, there's my mold poisoning because my eyes are so swollen shut.
Wow.
But I was kind of not realizing it because wormwood can suppress
Hmm.
the spores in the system because that's just what it does. It's not an anti-mold, it's a suppressant. So if you don't know you're in mold and then you're doing like a parasite cleanse with wormwood and then you get off of it and your symptoms are skin and hair and it goes wild, you're in mold.
Hmm.
Like you're in active mold. And so that's kind of the fear with a lot of mold people is that when they do parasite cleanses that they're suppressing the mold. But in fact, it's a good thing you're doing that because you're ramping up your immune system while they're dropping the spores in your body because that's what they do.
Hmm.
Parasites can hold 6 times their weight in spores and heavy metals and toxins. And
Wow.
that's why we use so many herbs when you're cleansing because each herb has its own responsibility.
Hmm.
And so then when you're done, usually you do 2 to 3 parasite cleanses and then you can hop into a mold cleanse. And our mold cleanse just helps boost your mitochondria while sweeping out the spores. And it's very gentle. It's the same system as our Parafy. Moldy's is the same system as the parasite cleanse. I wanted to make it as easy as possible, especially because mold is very difficult. It's
Mhm.
very painful. You have a lot of emotions that are tied to mold. So,
Wow. Well, and I had asked you earlier because people were asking me if they could combine your two kits, and I like that you had a sequence. Like I didn't know until you told me that the parasites themselves hold the spores, and you got to get rid of the source. So you got to get rid of the parasites first, then you can start going after the mold. So
yeah.
it's another level of thoughtfulness that it's just fun to have somebody who's solely focused on something like this at a root cause level that can do it. And by the way, if you guys have not followed her on social, it is worth the listen. By the way, I blame you for the seared image I have in my head of like I think it was a grizzly bear shaking a giant tapeworm out of his butt. I did
I
not
got
need to see that. But thank
and
you.
they eat better salmon than us. So think about that. They
Oh,
eat they eat more fresh. They eat better than we do. And look at what they have. Now, I put hawthorn in the Parafy kit specifically because I saw so many tapeworms. I was shook. I was like, how is this possible? I guess 3 out of 5 people have tapeworms now. I don't have a tapeworm, and I feel for anyone that does because, man, it's a beast if you have a tapeworm.
I had one, well, 10 years ago. Yeah, about 10 years and 1 month ago, I passed a parasite, a tapeworm, about a foot long on a cruise ship. And my wife can verify the story because she got to see the physical evidence of it. But it was like one of those, I to that point, I had no idea the thing was even in me, which really got me interested in parasite cleansing after that point. And I haven't, until meeting you, I've tried different ones and haven't found something I was ready to put my face or my force behind because I just haven't felt they've done the job.
Yeah.
And seeing what you've put together for so many years is like, oh, finally I can actually help people because sometimes it's brutal. The cleanses people go through, either onerous financially or the physical herc symptoms or the unpleasant nature of die-off. It's just, it can wreck you. And bracing people for that or shepherding them through that without being able to supervise it enough and without something I know is going to be like systematic at working through it. So I guess if nothing else, I'm saying thank you for helping me solve this for so many
Oh,
people, but well done.
I mean, it is difficult. It is. It's
It is.
even as gentle and as many herbs and as many things as we put into the Parafy kit, it's still, you still have die-offs. You still
Mhm.
have to do a few changes, but it's as gentle as you can possibly get and effective.
Mhm.
That's the thing, is it's so effective because of the thoughts of the herbs that
Yeah.
I did. And they speak to me. Like, I'll just give a little background too. When I first was going through this and I was getting off of my benzos, I did a lot of mushrooms,
Mhm.
like days and days and days where I would sit for 6 to 8 hours and meditate. And I
Wow.
really learned how to do things with my mind and kind of talk to myself internally, because obviously externally no one was helping me.
Mm.
So I really had to dig deep, and I feel like that plant medicine helped me to an extent where it got me familiar with the way the plants were around me, because a lot of the herbs that I put in the kit were herbs that are on my property, like usnea hangs from the trees, plantain, which will be in our lymph kit, that is on my ground, and lungwort is all over because they all work together. And
Mhm.
so I just kind of tapped into earth and mother nature and just really had her like sit with me and talk with me and guide me on what should be done.
Wow. Yeah. And I remember we did a program my wife and I built called the Sovereignty Project. We had a whole module on just healthcare at home and the idea that nature's pharmacy is constantly around us. And so we got these big, thick books on how the Native Americans used plants and all the
Yep.
different plant medicines. And sure enough, the nature knows how to balance itself, and we are the ones out of balance with it. And when you have a mind like yours to go to work and figure out the simpler, oh gosh, this is so much easier way to do it.
Yeah.
Man, it's wonderful.
And your body knows how to process the plant.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard this, but the DNA cells that we slough off, Mother Nature grows plants to help you. So my property has a ton of Oregon grapefruit, which we also use in sustain, and the property next door does not. Now,
Huh.
I don't know what that meaning is, other than, maybe my property has more parasites than others, but plantain, we have a lot of fungus, me and my husband, and we have a ton of plantain plant,
Hmm.
dandelion root. I don't have a lot of dandelions on my property, but the lady next door does, and she takes heart medicine. So it's like,
Wow.
how much does earth really help us? A
Yeah.
lot.
What a fun set of concepts to noodle over. I love it. Okay, well, so zoom out. So the official numbers, I guess, if you look it up on how widespread parasite problems are, give us those numbers, then give us your estimate on how widespread this problem really is. What percentage of people would actually have a parasite problem?
So they say that 85 to 90% of Western medicine country people have parasites, and it's
Oh,
around 1.5 to 2 billion people. Now, that's just documented. So when you passed a tapeworm, if you didn't go to the doctor and they didn't document it, then it didn't go into the statistics.
Yeah, I
So
did not do
my
that.
statistic is not in that number because when I tested through my independent lab and then the same stool went to LabCorp came back negative
Hmm.
and parasites.org came back positive. So that means that my numbers are not inside of that statistic because those are only documented, and they're only documented that they agree should be documented.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So if somebody isn't or has never done a parasite cleanse or hasn't done one in recent years, you can pretty much just default to the assumption that you do have them, and it's just a matter of what point it produces symptoms. Is that fair?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So one of
And
the
we're all
most
exposed. Sorry. We're all
good
exposed. So that's the thing, is that we're exposed every day to parasites.
when
So the likelihood that you have them is very high. And if you don't think that you do, then
then
you're
spends
heading
more
for
time
the
with Kim,
sand.
and yeah, you'll be convinced. Yeah. So okay. So you tested a bunch of water, and I believe you said it was 100% of the water you've been able to test everywhere.
75% of the water that's been tested has come back positive in our country.
Oh, and the tests you've done yourself have you found any that have not been tested positive?
They've all tested positive that I've tested.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, so one of the most shocking things you said to me when we talked last was that you had a CIA document from 1950. I think it was declassified in 2011. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so she sends me this document because I wanted to see it. The first two sentences smacked me across the face, and it sounded like your story. So it says endoparasites and malignant tumors resemble each other in many respects. So parasites and tumors look like each other. This suggested a long time ago in regard to the parasitic nature of tumors. And so this is in 1950, and they're saying a long time ago we knew that parasites and tumors look like each other. The only other date listed in that document, or earlier date anyway, was from 1938. So that's 86 years ago that they knew about this connection between tumors and parasites. So my thinking brain goes to, why in the world would that be classified information? And why does the CIA need to keep this under wraps? And I can only come up with three theories, and none of them are good ones. So help me with it here. Like, why would we need to have a classified document that points out something that every doctor should be aware of?
Right. I don't,
You're gonna let me theorize on it? You're not.
I mean, Rockefeller changed the way that we did medicine in 1924. Personally, I think we're kind of experimented on a lot more than we should be.
Mhm.
It's not rocket science how the body operates. And there is a lot of things that we can do differently. And after I saw that, it helped guide me.
Mm.
It wasn't really something that was a huge reason in 2021 that I did the videos that I've been doing. It wasn't really until a couple months after I went viral that I was like, wait a minute. In 2016, when I was digging on the dark web, which that's a whole nother story,
Right, I bet.
I found that.
Hmm.
And it just was one of the few things that I'd actually kept on my phone as a screenshot, was that document. And then I was laying in bed and I looked, someone had sent me, I was so mad at myself. They sent me an email and I can't find it, where a book in World War II was found from the 50s. And I was like, all of a sudden this light bulb went off and I was like, oh my God, I have a document. Let me go look. Literally, I was not feeling good that day. I got up and I started searching my flash drive, searching my laptop, searching my phone, and I found my document. The only document that I could find from 2016 when I found that.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, her mention of Rockefeller medicine. You guys, if you've listened to episode 2 of my show, then you know that term and you're familiar with the idea that there's a centralized monopolistic healthcare system that really is just more money and control focused, and it keeps doctors in shackles. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, how much are doctors or the medical system, or I don't even know, alternative world, how educated are they to look for or identify this problem of parasites? Is anybody in the medical system really trained in that?
No, no, we're trained in finding a medication and finding the symptom. We're trained in looking at the body with an ICD-10 code, which is how insurance runs.
Yeah.
We were trained with understanding medications. And a lot of my training was self-trained, but also I went to a lot of big pharma dinners where they would talk about the human body, but what their answer was to fix the problem. And some of the things that I did in the field were really cool. Like I helped with MS and Tysabri and developing that once a month IV therapy for MS patients. But like, how difficult would it be to do some alternatives with them? You know what I'm saying? Like mushrooms, like turkey tail, man. Turkey tail breaks down, not medical advice, but tumors, and they give it to chemo patients, and it helps boost your immune system. And it's like not really something that is hurtful to take, but in a money aspect, it is, you know? And so I feel like we've all kind of lost our way in the world that we're in right now. And I do feel like there's some refocusing of health and understanding, you know, making America healthy again. And, but like, if that doesn't happen, at least people got awakened to the health. And that's what we all need to really have, is a medical awakening, not just an awakening or the great awakening. We need to have a medical awakening because it all stems back to your body. It's all about this one temple you get, you lay your head down at night. Did you do your best to this body? But that's not their goal. And we weren't trained that way. And I did my best when I was a professor, and I ran 25 healthcare colleges for DeVry, and I wrote curriculum that they're still using. I really did my best to have people teach their patient how to do their best, because when it comes to this, people don't understand their own bodies. And that's really a misfortune. We're teaching people in high school how to do things you'll never use, but we're not teaching people in high school how to eat right and, you know, use red light and use vibration and work out, and how important it is to move your body and take natural herbs. Rockefeller did what he did because, one, of money, two, because it's easy to drive synthetic medications versus going and getting a plant. And it's cheaper to do synthetic medications than to go and get a plant.
Right. Well, and that's what I like about your formulation. You're the first one I saw where there was this comprehensive, systematic way, but you chose to make tinctures instead of just dry and powder a bunch of herbs and stick them in a capsule. So talk about the difference between, or why you chose that method of preparation, and for people who don't know the differences of how to prepare herbs.
Well, tinctures, you have to soak them for like 5 to 8 weeks to remove all the medicine from the plant. And then we also learned which plant is a water-based. So some plants are alcohol-based and some plants are water-based and some are both. So it's called a double extraction. Mushrooms are a double extraction. So a lot of my knowledge is because of extracting with mushrooms. When you take a pill, it goes into your stomach acids, and if you have parasites, not all of it actually is being absorbed, but when you have a tincture, all of it is, because it's readily available. It's immediately going into the bloodstream, which is really where parasites are, not just your gut, they're in our blood. And so it's immediately, and it doesn't have to fight with anything. So it just goes right in right away, absorbs right into your mouth. And it actually helps with your mouth health too. So you're kind of getting more than just, oh, I took a pill and then I have to wait for it to like absorb and then get into the blood. No, it's instant.
Yeah, no, that's what I've done other parasite cleanses and haven't found much success or much I had one like hot fire bowel movement. I'm like, what was that? So maybe that was something. Other than that, it was like, well, what was that all about? Like, there's nothing to show for all of this, and to be able to know, okay, we're not just reliant on the GI tract that may be gunked up anyway to try to extract some value for these herbs. You've got a whole system of how to do that. So, okay, well, a couple things I want to ask, just practical. Talk about testing. Given the reality that most people likely have them, is it worth doing testing, or do you just kind of assume it's there and go through the process anyway? Or what would you say about getting whether your water or your body tested?
You should just do it.
Just do it. Okay.
And yeah, other countries like Mexico, it's like twice a year. They're like, all right, or with symptoms. So if you're doing a parasite cleanse, even if it's not mine, and you get off of the cleanse and you still have symptoms, that's symptoms.
Hmm.
So you want to get right back on it. And I did 30 days specifically because I don't want people to waste the money.
Hmm.
If you get on it and you're like, oh, I just can't dedicate 30 days, then you don't have nine months worth of product. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You and then there's no waste of herbs. And so overall, 30 days is just your starting point. But other countries realize that when symptoms arise, that they take their antiparasitic and symptoms calm down, but they do it in a system like HCQ with Ivor. So, they
Hmm.
know what they're doing and they can easily master it themselves. They don't need to go to a doctor.
Yeah.
That's really where we're at. Like, not everyone wants to go to a doctor
Right. Well, and
anymore.
even the going to doctors, I've had several different, a handful, I don't know, several, three, four different doctors that we've talked about this, and they say they've tested their patients, and almost every single time the test comes back negative. And so, like, I don't perceive the need to do that. So, talk about this problem of false negatives then.
Okay, so because I come from this world and I taught lab people, that was one of my curriculums that I actually helped set up. They get 3 minutes, and it's not some like guy in a white coat and like looking at it. No, man, it's like they get 3 minutes. If they don't see anything move, they don't see anything they recognize with their own eyes in the microscope, it's done. However, if you look at the bottom of your lab slip, it says this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection. So
Mm.
they're out, right? They got their out, they got their asterisk, they got their fine print, and they don't have to be responsible anymore. The lab tech dude or chick that, some of them have been around a long time in that field, some of them have not, you just don't know.
Mm.
3 minutes. And if they don't see anything, if they don't recognize anything, if nothing's moving, negative, and they're out. So the only way the insurance companies are going to pay
Mm.
for the medications that are stupid expensive, which are $7 in Mexico, is if it comes back positive. So if it comes back negative, then your doctor is not going to look at it anymore. And they're immediately going to go, oh, yeah, well, it came back negative. But they also didn't test you during a full moon. And they didn't run a blood test that has eosinophils in it, which is your indication that you have parasites, mold, candida, or a high elevated count of some kind in your cells. That's what an EOS on your blood work means. So they're not doing your stool with your blood work during the full moon, and full moon thing, that is legit. I can go over exactly
Yeah,
why
please
that's
do. I'm
affected.
baffled at why that's relevant, but I don't dismiss it either. So, educate us.
So, well, I'll finish the labs.
Okay.
So once they go through the lab, once they mark it negative and that's done, they're relying on that because your doctor's not going through your stool or doing
Right.
a live blood analysis, which is silly because we should be doing a live blood analysis, which is they draw your blood and they look at it right then. They
Mm.
look at it under a microscope. If there's things moving, they give it time. I'm actually going to go do one in Seattle here in a couple
Hmm.
of months just to see because I'm doing some other experimental procedures because I do have pandas and encephalitis. So I'm doing some other cool experiments that I'm going to videos for
Wow.
people.
Stay
But
tuned.
the live blood analysis really should be something that we're doing once a year. So it gives you an accurate, right then, present result.
Hmm.
And that's just not something that, the insurance is ever going to pay for. And that's ultimately what this is all about, is what the insurance will pay for.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine I just think of the lab tech factory of like, here's another thing of poop I got to look through. And it's
Totally.
just 3 minutes and
And
yeah.
it sits there. So when you do it, you're not refrigerating it. They're not giving you the exact way to do your collection, which is you're supposed to do it for 4 days. You get 2 vials. You scoop a little bit in the first vial, put it in the refrigerator. Then you scoop the next day and the second vial, put it in the refrigerator. Then you scoop a third day in the first vial. So you get a better picture of what's going on in your gut and the stool and pee are remnants and runoffs from your blood. So
Hmm.
that's what's the part that people are missing is your pee is a runoff from your blood.
Hmm.
And so what's in your blood is coming out of your pee. And so when you're doing these tests, if you don't have a good picture and you're just like, oh, one day, you're never going to know because maybe that day they were hiding. Maybe that day they didn't shed. Maybe that day they didn't lay an egg. You just don't know. with only doing a day. So you should do it over 4 days, 2 days in each of the containers that they give you. And then they don't put it as a high priority so they can die in that thing. And so
Mm,
you're not getting accurate testing because there isn't a better way right now in our country. Now, Mexico does it differently. And when you test through like parasites.org or Zoom or something, it is more fast paced because that's all they're doing. That's it.
mm,
Like they get it in and they test it immediately, or they put it in the fridge. I can tell you they let it sit out. They let it sit out.
yeah.
And so anything that could potentially be alive, and they don't also have anything to compare it to. So some people will actually send in samples of their worm and they don't have anything to compare it to. Now, if don't do this, but if you sent it to a vet tech, they 100% know what's going on because they're
Huh.
constantly looking at dogs and cats stool looking for parasites so that they can give them a dewormer. But we just don't have that ability to do that.
Yeah, which makes me go back to the question of like, why is this such a dismissed problem? And I wonder if it's because we don't have good treatments or the liability issues, or we just like people being sick or like something. None of them are good answers, but that's the world we live in. So, okay, comment on that if you want, but circle back to the full moon question of why that's relevant.
Um, let's comment on the other thing real quick. I think that they don't want to admit they were wrong.
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
that's hello COVID.
who
Yeah.
wants to admit that? I mean, for me personally, it was very difficult. And um, at times there was some shame because
Mhm.
I dismissed it myself. I wrote a lot of medical books over the last few years for academia, and I wrote curriculum and I gave it maybe an hour
Wow.
talking. So it's been dismissed. It's been
Mm.
dismissed by even the people that aren't meaning to dismiss it. But I would go back to, my pets didn't give me that. That's not possible. Oh, it's very possible. In fact, they did,
Yeah,
So like just I think the shame of coming out and admitting it, I think that then we're going to have to look at a lot of other issues, specifically our water in our
right.
country is
Yeah,
a huge issue. This is a huge issue. The water is a ginormous issue.
yeah.
And my husband and I spend a lot of money on filters because we know what we know now and you can't unknow it. We travel with filters.
Hmm.
We make sure because that's your fundamental, that's your
Right.
foundation.
Yes, exactly.
No. So it's really important to filter your water with at least a 5 micron or smaller filter. These filters that you buy that are like Jolie, that are just for your hair and skin, they don't have an actual filter.
Mm.
The water is being filtered, but you have to filter, which is a 5 micron because nematodes are 40 micron. And then you have all the other layers of toxins that are in our water. So if you just go to straight to 5 to 1, you're covering it all.
Nice. Okay, well, that's a good.
Oh
It was an
no.
easier way to get to something practical of cutting off some of the input of this. And then there's this life cycle of parasites related to the moon and related to
Yeah.
where they fall, where the testing puzzle falls in, and how there's so many false negatives. But talk to us about the life cycle and the full moon a little bit.
So the full moon creates more serotonin in your body, and parasites live off of serotonin in your body.
Ah,
That's why you feel like, for me, my self-worth is low when I know I need to cleanse because they're in there eating my serotonin, which you need is your happy hormone. And so that's why it kind of makes you crazy during the full moon. And from all my studies, French folklore states that you should start cleansing 3 days before the full moon because that's when they start to dislodge themselves and
huh.
create new communities. And the French ate a lot of snails, which has schistomiacin in it. So they're very well versed on how to parasite cleanse back in the day because they would eat a lot of snails. So they knew that they would have to cleanse because of it. So they would do it 3 days prior to the full moon, over the full moon, and a few days after the full moon every month. And that's what I do now every month when I'm in between my 30-day cleanses.
Wow.
But it's true, man. When I worked in the ER, you never, you just geared up for the full moon. And again, I repeat this because I live in Seattle and I moved to, this is my second apartment in Seattle. Last year, I lived in an apartment that was right on this walkway called the Blade. And it literally is like the hood of Seattle. And over the full moon, I would watch, and people were wild,
Really?
just wild. And I would go, "Oh, Jeremy, their worms are out of control. Look at them."
Wow, what a funny way to maybe have a different way to do people watching.
Oh yeah.
Just
I'm like, oh, I wonder if this, like, I know from working in the ER that it was crazy during the full moon. And we would brace ourselves in doctors' offices um because of that. But now I'm like, oh, this is a real thing. Like, I literally got to watch human behavior the last year,
shift.
staring out my own window. Like during the full moon, people were just nuts on the streets.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have it on video because I'm like, no one's ever going to believe me, but I got to video this.
Okay, well, so does it, like, you got a 30-day cleanse? Does it matter when you started? Do you have to time it in a particular way? Can you just start it knowing you're going to cover somewhere through there, you're going to hit the full moon? Is that more or less the answer?
Both. I mean, honestly, now the way I do things, I make sure that I do like a mini cleanse over the full moon. But like if I'm doing my 30-day and I need to just get going, I just get going. If
Yeah.
I can do it over the full moon, I'll do it over the full moon. But if you really want to make it like, oh, then yeah, you should start 3 days before the full moon.
3 days before. Okay. And then you're poisoning them on both ends, like right before they're getting ready to hatch or throw a party. And then on the back end, after they've had their party, the cleanup crew is abundantly present and kicking them out. Did I summarize that reasonably well?
Yeah, they're having a rager.
Wow, things you never thought you'd hear on a podcast. Here we
I
are. So,
mean, who would have thought? I mean, I think it because that's why I was deemed the worm queen.
well, yeah, and the
But
amount of stuff that, I mean, if you guys haven't seen, like I said, her every single day, there's some new thing. I have you to thank for like exploding parasites and as a category, and this like contained explosion inside my body of dying worms that have now create all this debris that needs to be cleaned up. So thank you for all of your wonderful or not so wonderful images that I may stop following you just so I can get some counseling or
oh,
something.
just mute me for a
Just,
minute.
yeah,
Some people
something
have
like
to
that.
and then they come back.
Okay.
Like
Well, yeah. I know
I
it's
try and make it as fun as possible.
you
This
do.
is gross. Like, I mean, never in a million years would I've ever thought that this would be something that I would be discussing on a daily basis, let alone starting a company with 30 plus employees.
Right.
So we have over 30 employees, 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility, 3,400 square foot storage facility. Never would I have thought that this would be where I was at. I mean, just 3 years ago, like
Yeah.
literally just 3 years ago, this is all that
That's
we've been
crazy.
doing. And there's four of us that dedicated our lives to this. There's me and my husband and our business partner, Erica, and her husband, and they live in Jonesboro. So that's why our facility is in Jonesboro and we're in Seattle, is because they live in Jonesboro and they run our production facility. So it really has been, we've all gotten to use our talents. Where my husband and I are builders. So we've gotten to build our own manufacturing facility.
Wow.
There's so many things that we all put our love and heart and soul into this company and our community, and we give everything out except for our kit. And even that, we do a lot of giveaways. We do a
Yeah.
lot of discounts because
Yeah.
this is more than just a company to us. This is our lifestyle, and this is what we want our world to be happy and healthy again in life.
Yeah. Well, and you've done it. I mean, you're a classic example of your pain becomes your mission. You've taken something that was a obvious problem and placed where so many people are lost and not finding the real answer. And it was too important to you to leave it alone. And you've given it to your life. And thank you from me and the rest of the people who will get to benefit from your work. It's nice to have something that you can just tell comes from a good heart and is got solid evidence and science behind it. And one of the things you have on your site, you have these parasite identification guides. And oh my gosh, like again, it's like the torrent of things that like I asked her, she's already, if you can see her, she's laughing at me right now. But so these parasite identification guides, there's two of them. They're over 300 pages each. And it's just a constant scroll of here's parasites or worms that came out of people's body. And I asked her, are you serious? Is this really from your own customer base? And she's like, yeah, yeah. And how many more pictures do you have that you don't publish?
Those were just good pictures. Like people sent, I mean, I think I have like 20,000 pictures. I mean, I spent 6 weeks going through all of the pictures on my phone. And we'll probably do a book 3.
Gosh.
Yeah, because there's so many. There's
Yeah.
so many pictures. And I feel like people just don't know where to even go, including myself. There was nothing out there when I was looking at liver flukes. I'm like, I don't even know what a liver fluke looks like. Again, this just isn't something that like
Right.
I was taught. And again, I was a valedictorian for 2 of my degrees, and I love looking at things. And if I don't know it, how could anybody else know it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Man.
we got to have the information out there.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to join us and compare worm pooping stories with your friends in these books, we're happy to have you and take a picture. Maybe you will make it past the editor. Who knows?
Oh my God, maybe you'll make it. Maybe you'll make it the centerfold.
Right.
My friend Sam has the
Right.
centerfold.
That's what I
Yeah.
want to have.
Right now,
Have.
she's the centerfold. She blew 100 worms out of her nose.
What?
Yeah, which was my nightmare. I never wanted to have them come out of any orifices, which I did. And I had them come out of my feet with the fulvic soak, which we sell that fulvic soak specifically because I had them swim out of my feet.
Ugh, you had that. So you're in a bath, you're doing a full Vic soak, one of your products, and you see worms floating on the top of the water. Is this what you're
I
telling me?
just did foot soak and the worms
That's
swam out of the water or swam out of my feet, and they're swimming in the water, and I have it on video. In fact, I did a video before because I like to video everything. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I'm super disappointed. I can't, nothing's happening. Like I can feel it. I'm not seeing anything. I guess this is just really disappointing. And then like 2 seconds later, I'm like, oh, and like I show my foot soak, and I've got multiple worms swimming in my soak.
Dang. Wow. So if you ever needed a good reason to consider a parasite cleanse, folks, there it is. Okay. Give us so we've heard good bits about your fascinating story. Give us a customer or 2 or 10, just like some stories of other people and their health or healing or ways that you have been able to change their lives through the use of your products.
A lot of women have gotten pregnant because they've been able to remove some of the burdens that their body is having. Your body is thinking it's taking care of something else that's alive because there is things alive in your body. And so it's giving all of its time and energy and nutrients to that. And so we've had quite a few people, which is really great because,
Yeah, no
again, I
kidding.
had endometriosis, and I had a hysterectomy, and I don't have kids. And so it's kind of nice to see other women who have struggled. Our bottle guy, we have these really cool blue bottles. His name is Tyler. He's given me permission to share his story whenever I want. Him and his wife tried for 3 years to have children. And I sent them a kit and I said, just give it a try. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You might see some worms when you go to the bathroom. And they have a 1.5-year-old now.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
So, it's just really awesome that people can take their own health into their hands and just go, I'm just going to try it. Like, I'm just going to
Yeah.
try it. It's not going to hurt you. You're going to
No.
get nutrients in your body that you weren't getting before.
Yeah, the
So,
parasites aren't eating your food first and giving you the leftovers. You get to,
right.
man,
Yeah.
cool. And so many other symptoms or stories that could be told. And we'll let the customer go check out your social
Yeah.
media or your website and the guides and find some of these. There's so many reviews, and you don't sell as many kits as you have if you weren't doing God's work. So thank you for what you're doing. And so as we start wrapping up, is there anything I left out, anything you want to tell people and let them know where to find you and follow your work?
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And you can find me, Mrs. Rogers Hood is on Insta and Threads, and then Mrs. Rogers Hood, as in like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, find the helpers. So Mrs. Rogers Hood is on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Nope, I already said that. Yeah, just the
Okay.
dot is on Insta because someone has Mrs. Rogers Hood, which I feel for her. I can only imagine what her DMs look like sometimes because mine are not.
You're like, why does everybody keep asking me about worms?
I know. One day she messaged me and she's like, do you think, I'm like, no, I'm not stopping. You can give me your name and then it'll stop.
But not for now. So,
Yeah.
wow. Very cool. Okay. Well, what's your website and anything else you want to say?
RogersHood.com is our website, and we answer every email, every DM. We answer every comment that we can. And so if you reach out to us, we will get back with you. So just be patient because we do get a lot depending on if we're viral that day or not, which we're viral kind of every day. So we really try to get back to you in 24 hours. And everything that I've talked about is free. We've got a fast track guide that can get you started, whether it's with our kit or with any sort of a cleanse. We have a mold cleanse as well because I had mold poisoning, so I made a mold cleanse called Moldies. You can actually take everything that's in the Moldies kit with the Parafy kit, excluding Moldies. So it's really just great to have additional support, and that's what all of our tinctures do for each other, support each other. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just give it a try. You'll feel better. You might lose a little weight. Your inflammation will go down. I mean, that's the whole purpose, is just to feel better.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember just seeing your first video that went viral and how you look now compared to that. And I told you earlier, you literally look 10 years younger. You did something just to give your body a chance to heal. And one other question you made me think of as you were talking was what other things do you suggest pairing with a cleanse like this? Do you go up the back end and suggest anything? Obviously, soaks and baths. And so anything else you'd recommend to complement what you do?
Coffee enemas, colonics. So to make sure you're peeing, pooping, and perspiring when you're doing any cleanse because you're trying to get rid of the toxins.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend saunas, steam. Red light is my favorite. I do red light every day and I do vibration plate every day. So just keeping the movement going. I've recently this year started doing hyperbaric chamber, which is oxygen therapy. And I do NAD just to keep my body boosted and allow me to detox more comfortably, because that's really what it is. Once you have a bad cleanse, you might not ever do a cleanse again. So
Mm.
it's like a bad trip. Once you do one, you're like, oh, it scares you. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're having a good cleanse in order for you to continue to do it, because your body really needs it. Our toxin bucket's overloaded at this point in life.
Yeah, it is. And once you can get your head around that, okay, I have a toxicity problem. I'm
Yeah.
going to have to get the exits open and I'm going to have to be able to find the things that get whatever needs to leave my body out. And so that's really, we've simplified our business down to that. And we are proud to feature your products as part of our cleanse. So anybody wants supervision going through this and a community to surround you, that's what we're all about. And so Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. It has been a pleasure having you on the show, and I'll have to have you back for some other conversation in the future.
Yeah, mushrooms. I can talk about mushrooms for hours.
All right. We stay tuned for a future mushroom podcast. All right. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Deconstructing Conventional. If this conversation sparked new questions or helped you see things in a new light, feel free to share it with a friend who is on a similar journey. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode and a perspective that challenges the norm. Check us out on our website at healingunited.today and find us on social media at Healing United, or you can check out the Healing United PMA app. It's a great way to stay connected. Remember, question everything and rebuild intentionally.